My work is kind of my life. There is not much of a separation. I don't even really know if it's work. It is life.
Like when I'm angry, I can channel it into like anger on record. And like when I'm live, you see that kind of anger too.
It was up to you what you made. Everyone just had to figure out exactly who they were and how they wanted to create.
One thing I really like about working on creative projects is often ideas of useful work or productive work can actually be quite simple. Although there might be emails or permits surrounding an album, fashion show, or writing and publishing a novel, when it comes to the true value that the piece is going to give to the audience, it really can come down to that individual or group of creatives having their hands on the actual tools of production and doing that work. You can't talk or dress or golf your way into a better creative product or connecting with the audience more powerfully. You have to actually engage with the work at hand, good day after bad day after good day after bad day. And in this piece, I want to study this set of great artists across different disciplines to look at where their motivation to execute day after day really comes from. The first artist we're going to look at is someone I've been wanting to make a video about for some time on this channel, and even though my own creative practice is really different from this designer, when I listen to his interviews, I always come away feeling really inspired. But just before we get into looking at the artists here, I wanted to tell you about something that's been helping me with my own learning challenges recently, and that's the sponsor of this video, which is Skillshare. Whatever your own creative goals are, when you join Skillshare, you'll have access to courses from animation to photography to graphic design and music. If you followed this channel, you might have an awareness that I'm dabbling with learning how to mix music and video in a live way. The learning path that I've been following is called Go From Beginner DJ to Mix and Master, and just like the previous classes that I took on Ableton, I chose this learning path because it's really well structured and gives a deep enough look into the knowledge and information here for me to really get stuck into. Now, the best thing about this partnership with Skillshare is the fact that they offer me the opportunity to let this audience go and check out their platform for free. The first 500 people to use my link in the description will receive a 1-month free trial of Skillshare. So go get started and take a look. It's absolutely free, and taking that journey will support both you and this channel. And yeah, with that said, let's jump back into these artists now and look at the ideas that sit behind their work ethic, driving them forwards towards that goal.
My work is kind of my life. There is not much of a separation. I've always worked that way. It ends up being more honest and sincere and pure. So I don't even really know if it's work. It is life.
Rick Owens. Work as life.
This is a George Mean sculpture. He was a Belgian sculptor associated with the Viennese Secession. It's called Kneeling Youth, and it's a study, I believe, for a fountain that's encircled by these youths leaning over it. It's about introversion, introspection, narcissism. Well, this is my interpretation. I just like the mood that it creates. It's kind of severe and a little bit maudlin, a little bit melancholy, but also vaguely spiritual. When I am in Concordia, I am focused on creating. This is a period of rigor, and this is a period of training, and the gym takes up pretty much half the apartment.
So that's why I take a nap every day, because partly just to recharge, but also there's a little bit of escape in it. I get oversaturated and having to communicate with a lot of people all day. So it's kind of an escape in the middle of the day to kind of have privacy again, complete privacy. It's like kind of a mini suicide. There's some people that thrive on working in a community or collaborating. I'm a terrible collaborator. I can only be completely passive or completely dominant. I can't do in between. So I've tried things where, I had a lot of energy around and young people with cute haircuts and stuff, and And I just can't deal with all that excess energy and all of that desire and all of that ambition and all of everybody's needs, So I kind of have to be really spoiled and be by myself. I get portfolios and I get applications and CVs that have images cut in, like collages and stuff. And I'm like, what the fuck am I going to do with a collage? I can do a collage. So I need like old people who know how to make things. So
when I work on interiors or furniture, I'm pretty much a reductivist. I don't think about domestic details that much. They feel a little fussy to me. So the domesticity in this apartment is pretty minimal. I always kind of like sticking to a decision. So when I pick an outfit, I'll pretty much stick to it for a couple of years. I wanted a travertine box to work in, kind of like a cave, a travertine cave, something stone. I know that I wanted to live in stone.
I like the idea of reminding myself how insignificant I am by being in the middle of nature, by being in the middle of an ocean or being at the sea. There is something very reassuring to remind yourself every once in a while you need to take yourself out of your own trivial little problems and consider yourself as a speck. 1, get over yourself. 2, hope for the best but plan for the worst. And 3, don't expect life to be fair.
And I remember when I was in my MA, I was there for 4 months and then I dropped out. I was there and I was telling my tutor I want to do clothes with Black people on it. And they were just looking at me who's gonna care? No one's gonna care. And I'm looking at them well, I care. My fucking jacket with the bum print on it speaks to so many people. And I'm whoa, if I listened to that tutor who was telling me forget that, I wouldn't even have done that.
Mowalola, an expression of self through taste.
I think I promote self-love and just being yourself. So I feel people who love themselves also kind of feel connected to that. So it's not, I'm not trying to be anyone's role model, but I feel I want people to find who they truly are. And I feel that's what my brand is about, Since my graduate collection, I did the music, I did the casting, I sought out the stylist. I haven't left responsibility of my expression to someone else. I find the people I'm inspired by and I want to create with, and then we do this together. When I was in the MA, someone just emailed me and was oh, Kanye wants to call you. So I was okay. So I gave him my details and shit, and then a day later he called me and we were just chatting for a couple hours about Brandom. But I didn't work with him then. I kind of just decided that I wasn't ready yet.
So you told him, you're I don't think it's time right now?
Yeah.
Wow.
I feel I could have gone, but it felt at that point, knowing who I was the most important thing to me. I didn't want to go somewhere and get lost in someone else's vision. I don't want you to do what I'm doing. I want you to see me do me and figure out what it is to do you.
That's just how I am when I'm serious. I'm just droll. You know what I mean? When I'm angry, I can channel it into anger on record. And when I'm live, you see that kind of anger too.
JPEGMAFIA. White knuckling reality.
When I make some shit with Vegan or James Blake or somebody like that, it's these are guys who also are insular with how they work, and they work from inside here. It's kind of figuring out how to exist around somebody, and how to be private around, but how to be private but in public or something. It's it's figuring out how to take whatever you are in private and make it work in the context of extroversion or next to somebody else or with somebody else looking. You know what I mean? So obviously it's not going to be the same as when you're alone, but like if you get that symmetry with somebody, you can like just work pretty much like 90% to like how you really can work, you know? Because I say like when you're alone is when you come up with the most, I don't know, interesting things, I guess, but that's just my opinion. But like, yeah, when you find somebody who you can work good with, it's like finding a good dance partner or some fucking weird analogy like that.
Now that you sort of are familiar with and just sort of have more of a grapple of this larger growing audience that you're actually making music for, and you're sort of maybe coming away from these projects consciously thinking about how will this be consumed? How will this be perceived? What will the reaction to this be? Should I change it or edit it to elicit a certain other type of reaction?
It can alter how you do things if you let it, you know, if you get caught up in what people say or like what people expect. I guess I've been here the whole time. People forget this shit, but like before Veteran came out, I was just here. There was a whole like long ass time before that when nobody gave a fuck about nothing I was doing. And I didn't forget about those years. So like, it's just interesting watching people react to something in real time and then watching that opinion change over time. So like, you have to just stand your ground or whatever it is. It's a risk you take as an artist. If people like it, that's fantastic. If they don't like it, you just have to go back to the drawing board. So like, that's just really it. I live and die by that kind of thing. So like, yeah, I don't know, project to project, it's just risk taking. So I'm taking risk. I just have to take risk. It's just how I live in uncomfortability. So I just have to like live in that and try to succeed in that. I can't do what everyone else is doing. And I don't know if that answers your question, but the gist of it is I've been here the whole time. When I had one fan, now I have all these fans. It's like, I'm here, it doesn't matter.
And a story is so painful, but everybody's had a pain like that. Everybody has done that, and nobody talks about it. Nobody talks about it because it's so painful and because everyone thinks they're the only one. And so if I can take some of those stories and bring them to light, it creates this opening for everyone to say, oh my God, I once did this thing and my parents reacted badly to it, or it destroyed my life and I've never been the same. And when Franz told me that story, he was almost weeping, but he was laughing as he was telling the story, because he had to keep laughing in order to keep telling the story. And that's what I'm always shooting for.
Chuck Palahniuk. A reverence for the unsaid.
Because it was all so made up and so pretend, and it purported to depict a horrendous thing while completely making it up with no details and no thought and no care and no intention to honor the power of what this situation would have been. It was so incredibly superficial and silly and stupid, and yet it was still demanding so much respect because of the nature of the story. How dare you tell this story and make this awful thing so tepid and so mundane and so filled with cliches and so badly written? You completely, dishonored this powerful story. I am sick of people doing these slapdash stories that, could be actual events in people's lives, but they expect that this story is going to get massive respect and accolades just because it's about a specific topic, where it does nothing to unpack and depict the real horror of that topic.
Because my grandmother would always get these really incredibly beautiful crocheted and lace napkins or tablecloths, placemats. And she'd always say, this is too good to use. This is too nice. And when we went to sort through her house, there were all of these napkins and crocheted collars and placemats and tablecloths that were too good to use. They never got used. So screw it. If I can think of a story, if I can think of an idea, I've got to find a way to put it in a book. I'm not going to be one of these people who sort of stops the supply by just thinking, I'm going to hold this back. I'm going to hold this back. Because that's when you quit getting good ideas. That's when you quit hearing good stories, is when you are so holding tightly. Yeah, I don't care if they like it or they don't like it. What matters is that it gets out there, and it gets out in such a way that it is remembered. That it's that sort of, whether you call it extremeness of it or truth of it, that will keep it in the culture long enough that the culture will eventually change and embrace the thing.
You create for yourself, not for your audience.
Exactly. And if you do it right, then you're creating for both, because you're generating a thing that they see themselves in.
I hope you enjoyed looking at the artists there. In a moment, I'm putting a video on the screen that jumps deeper into topics around work ethic and what it can really take to pursue your creative goals. First, a huge shout out to the paid supporters who help support these videos and get some of these videos early, along with the ability to send me directly the things they're struggling with in their own work, so that I can feed those into the stuff that I make here. So that deeper dive into issues around work ethic, I'm just putting on the screen now. And with all that said, thanks for watching, good luck in your own work, and yeah, speak soon.